90% of the world's most advanced chips come from one island smaller than Switzerland. Without it, your phone, your car, and ChatGPT simply stop working. Taiwan sits 90 miles off China's coast, a democracy of 23 million people. Yet this small island has quietly become the single most important place in the global economy. At the heart of this story is one company, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC. Founded in 1987, it now produces the chips inside almost every cutting-edge device on Earth. Semiconductors are the brains behind everything modern: smartphones, fighter jets, electric cars, data centers, and artificial intelligence. Without them, the digital world stops cold. Making advanced chips is the most complex manufacturing process humans have ever invented. It requires etching billions of transistors onto silicon thinner than a human hair, with atomic precision. A single modern chip fabrication plant, called a fab, costs over $20 billion to build. That's more expensive than an aircraft carrier and harder to operate. Back in the 1980s, chip companies designed and manufactured everything themselves. Intel, Motorola, and Texas Instruments owned the entire process from blueprint to silicon wafer. Then a Taiwanese-American engineer named Morris Chang had a radical idea. After being passed over for the CEO job at Texas Instruments, he moved to Taiwan in 1985. Chang proposed something nobody had tried: a foundry that only manufactured chips designed by other companies. No competing designs, no conflicts of interest. Just pure, focused manufacturing excellence. The Taiwanese government invested 48% of the initial capital. Chang convinced Philips to add another 28%. TSMC was born in 1987 with a wild bet on a new business model. American executives laughed. Why would Apple, Nvidia, or Qualcomm hand over their crown jewels to a foundry halfway across the world? Yet Chang's bet would reshape global technology forever. By the 1990s, fabless chip designers emerged everywhere. Companies like Nvidia, Broadcom, and Qualcomm didn't want to build factories. They just wanted to design, and TSMC would manufacture. This split unleashed innovation. Designers could focus on architecture while TSMC perfected manufacturing. Costs dropped, quality climbed, and entire new chip companies became possible overnight. In 2010, Apple launched its own custom chips for iPhones. But Apple doesn't own a fab. Every A-series and M-series chip you've ever used was etched in Taiwan. Nvidia, the company powering the AI revolution, also makes nothing itself. Every H100 and B200 GPU training ChatGPT and Gemini is manufactured exclusively by TSMC in Taiwan. TSMC measures progress in nanometers. The smaller the number, the more transistors fit. They went from 90 nanometers in 2004 to 3 nanometers today, doubling power roughly every 2 years. Each new process node costs tens of billions in research and equipment. Most competitors gave up. Global foundries quit advanced chips in 2018. Even mighty Intel began falling behind. Only Samsung managed to stay in the race, but with lower yields and reliability. By 2020, TSMC had captured over 50% of the global foundry market and 90% of the cutting edge. TSMC's secret weapon is a Dutch machine called EUV, extreme ultraviolet lithography. Made only by ASML, each one costs over $200 million and weighs as much as 2 Boeing 747s. ASML in the Netherlands is the only company on Earth that can build EUV machines. TSMC operates the largest fleet, giving them an effective monopoly on the world's most advanced chips. Most of TSMC's magic happens in Hsinchu, a science park north of Taipei. Tens of thousands of engineers work around the clock, often sleeping at the fab during critical production runs. Taiwanese engineers are famous for relentless work ethic, 12-hour shifts, weekends on call, and obsessive attention to detail. This culture is nearly impossible to replicate elsewhere. What truly separates TSMC is yield, the percentage of working chips per wafer. Where rivals achieve 60%, TSMC routinely hits over 90% on the most advanced nodes. TSMC runs separate, walled-off teams for each major client. Apple engineers never see Nvidia's designs. AMD never glimpses Qualcomm's. Trust is the foundation of the entire business. Then came generative AI. Suddenly the world needed millions of GPUs to train models. Nvidia couldn't keep up with orders. And every single GPU had to come from TSMC. TSMC's market value rocketed past $1 trillion by 2024. It became the most valuable company in Asia and one of the 10 most valuable companies on the planet. But here's the catastrophic risk: almost all of TSMC's most advanced fabs are on one island. One island that China claims as its own territory. Taiwan calls this its Silicon Shield. The theory: if TSMC gets destroyed in a war, the global economy collapses. So nobody, especially Washington, can afford to let Taiwan fall. China conducts regular military drills around Taiwan. Beijing insists reunification is inevitable, by peaceful means or otherwise. Every TSMC engineer knows what's potentially at stake. The United States passed the CHIPS Act in 2022, dedicating $52 billion to bring chip manufacturing home. TSMC began building fabs in Arizona, Japan, and Germany. The Arizona project will cost over $65 billion and produce TSMC's leading-edge chips on American soil. But construction has been delayed by labor and culture clashes. Even with unlimited money, no country has matched TSMC's quality. The combination of skilled workers, supplier networks, government support, and engineering culture took decades to build. And here's what changed everything: by 2024, TSMC alone produced 92% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. No country, no company, has ever held this kind of monopoly on a critical technology. Every modern fighter jet, every supercomputer, every AI model, all depend on chips manufactured in a handful of buildings in Taiwan. The world's economy literally runs through one island. If TSMC stopped production tomorrow, analysts estimate global GDP would shrink by trillions within months. The auto industry would halt. Smartphones would vanish from shelves. AI development would freeze instantly. Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang, himself born in Taiwan, has called TSMC the most important company in the world. Without it, his trillion-dollar empire wouldn't even exist. Apple, the most valuable company on Earth, spends over $20 billion annually at TSMC. That single contract is worth more than the entire revenue of most Fortune 500 companies. And then came the geopolitical earthquake. The US banned TSMC from selling its most advanced chips to Chinese clients in 2022, weaponizing Taiwan's silicon dominance against Beijing. Suddenly, a small island became the single most strategically important place in international affairs. More valuable than oil fields, more critical than naval choke points, more contested than any border. Morris Chang, now 93 years old, has called the global semiconductor industry a battlefield. And TSMC, founded with a wild bet decades ago, has become the most coveted prize on it. The factory once dismissed as a backwater contract manufacturer now holds the future of artificial intelligence, modern warfare, and the digital economy in its hands. How did Taiwan pull this off? It wasn't luck. It was a 40-year bet on focused specialization, when everyone else tried to do everything themselves. Morris Chang understood something profound: manufacturing chips and designing them require completely different mindsets. Splitting the two unlocked enormous specialization gains for the entire industry. Taiwan also benefited from a strong educational system, a government willing to invest patiently, and a culture that rewarded engineering excellence over financial engineering. The result is a virtuous cycle. The best customers bring TSMC their hardest problems. Solving them produces world-leading process technology, which attracts even better customers. It's a moat that compounds every year. Each new node deepens TSMC's lead because the learning curve is impossible to shortcut without manufacturing trillions of transistors in actual production. This is why the United States, despite spending tens of billions, can't simply rebuild the industry. Knowledge lives in people, processes, and partnerships, none of which transfer overnight. The lesson for any country, company, or career is clear. True dominance comes from doing one thing better than anyone for decades, while resisting the urge to do everything. Taiwan's quiet bet became the foundation of the digital age. A small island, a focused company, and one stubborn engineer changed the trajectory of global technology forever. Subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden forces shaping our world. Drop your take on Taiwan in the comments below.